Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything can you offer me today?
An obscure body in the SK system, Your Majesty. The inhabitants refer to it as
the Hell-Ming Power Hour.
Hell-Ming.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Hey.
Building castles in the sky.
Here we are. We're back. It's just the two of us.
You and I.
Yeah, we haven't done a show by ourselves in a while, so we thought, what a neat way to get back into the groove, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's starting to sound a little too intimate.
That's okay. We'll get past that part. Macho man. That'll make us seem.
I want to be. Yeah.
But yeah, welcome back to episode 13, the Hell-Ming Power Hour. I don't know why I can't say that.
Well, it's okay. I'll say it. The Hell-Ming Power Hour.
It's a good Jonathan Winters. Good job.
Thanks.
Yep, I'm Rick, as always, and I've got my 6-shooting, rootin' tootin', cowboy killing partner, Danny Bennett.
That's right, and I'm about to sing the entire chorus from Cat Ballou.
So yeah, we got a little special episode for you, and you'll hear a lot of things that sound kind of like this. Oh.
I kind of missed that.
Yeah, I missed that too. You'll hear some things reminiscent to this.
That's right, it's Beastmaster in the Wild West.
Yes, welcome to our Western episode. And this is going to be a lot of fun. Again, we haven't done a show by ourselves in a while, so we can just be as stupid as we want to be. And,
that's right, we have to impress those guests.
That's right. You have to act like we know what we're talking about. So
right, and have to be all Bo Ransdale about it.
So yeah, and we were talking about this earlier. I am not the biggest Western fan, but I can pretty much name every Western I like probably on one hand. But two of those movies are these two movies. So these two are fantastic.
Oh, of course. And, these are two Western movies that stand outside of the Western genre because they aren't your typical Western. And that's probably why we're mentioning them. They also both don't get enough love.
Right.
The first movie that we're going to talk about today is starring Tom Selleck, Laura San Giacomo, and Alan Rickman. It's the Australian Western Quigley Down Under.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that we just stepped into the 90s on this show?
We might have just stepped into the 90s with this one.
Oh, man.
Now, I was reading about it, and it actually was slated to be made, and Tom Selleck was on board. And because of some problems where it got rewritten and then it was historically inaccurate, and so some people backed out because they didn't want to make an Australian movie that was going to get this kind of market that was all historically inaccurate for Australia, it got postponed for a long time. And Tom Selleck was so interested in the project that he came back after years of it being on the skids.
Cool.
So it might have been originally slated for the 80s, but it looks like it got released in 1990, according to IMDb.
All right. Well, they should know, I guess.
That's how they get paid the big bucks.
So you got Quigley Down Under, which is a great, great, fun, entertaining movie. But the other movie, the awesome Sam Raimi direction, Quick and the Dead.
I think you said it all there with Sam Raimi. I mean,
right.
Sam Raimi tells the story, and what did he do? He went out west, and he made a movie that it told the story of a gunfighting tournament and it is so rich with interesting characters and fantastic cinematography, and the plot is built into the tournament that goes around it. It's got Gene Hackman as a bad guy.
Yeah, it's just awesome, man, and can't wait to get into that one. We've watched that one several times together, so it's going to be a fun show, folks. So just hang on to your hats. How about that?
Yeah, your 5-gallon hat. 10-gallon hat?
Sure. Sharpen up your spurs.
Ooh.
Shine up your belt buckle. I will be right back.
All right. This here's Matthew McConaughey, and you're listening to Hail Ming Power Hour. I listened to Hail Ming Power Hour long before anyone told me to. I just like the way it sounds.
All right, ready for movie number 1. The fantastic Tom Selleck in the movie Quigley Down Under. And why Down Under? We're in Australia.
That's right, because he answers a call to go do some pest control, shooting some native dogs in Australia, and ends up in a world of hurt when he locks horns with Alan Rickman when he finds out the true nature of what he was called down there to do.
Right. It's just a fun, action-packed movie. Lots of great stuff in it. Good storytelling, too, man. Great bad guys, and we'll get into all that stuff. But you ready for the synopsis?
I'm ready.
All right.
This is going to be a treat. I can't wait.
Yeah, sure. To give us a synopsis, and a very big fan of this movie is a very crappy Michael McDonald.
Ever you see Quigley Down Under? It's Tom Selleck with a great big head. Crazy Coral, thank you, roar. Alan Rickman is a real bad dude. You saving little baby CeeLo Green. Take some drugs and then you're gonna eat some bugs. Aborigines. Watch out, dingoes. Watching Quigley.
Yeah.
I think Quigley Down Under might be taking it to the streets.
He said saving baby CeeLo Green in there. Did you hear that? All right, man. Let's
What a
get
bastard.
Let's get into this. Why do we watch Quigley Down Under besides it being the land of Abba?
Well, besides it being the land of Abba, I'm going to say the reason you watch Quigley Down Under, it's got to be the sharpshooter sequences.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the music kicks up, the banjo starts plucking, and you know that the clock is ticking. But the great thing about that is that Quigley is such a fantastic sharpshooter with his amazing experimental rifle that it doesn't matter how far the bad guy really gets away, he can shoot him.
Right. Yeah, there's a whole setup of that, too, to just show you how awesome he is, where, you know, he's questioning his abilities to shoot, and he has the guy run out there with the bucket. About there will do. And it's just unbelievable how far away he is. Shoots that bucket like 3 or 4 times, so pretty bad dude.
Yeah, and you know, for those of you, again, these movies, the Quigley Down Under and The Quick and the Dead, but Quigley Down Under does not get the credit it deserves. It's kind of an off-the-wall plot for a Western, so I guess that's why it didn't get the love it deserves. But it's Tom Selleck and Alan Rickman.
Right.
I mean, you know, sure, the top reason I just gave was these sequences where Tom Selleck is a sharpshooter. But I mean, those are just the action sequences that carry you through the movie. Having rewatched it, it does have some downtime in the middle of it, which I do remember from watching it in the past. But it's a little more than I recall. It might also be because I just watched Quick and the Dead, which has no downtime.
Right.
But
and this movie's a bit longer too. It's a longer movie.
Right. But it's still worth a watch because by the end of it, I mean, the hero is awesome. You know, the struggle is good. It's got a great, moral to the story. Alan Rickman's a great bad guy, and it's one of those ones that you can put a feather in your cap and say, you know what I saw? Quigley Down Under.
Right. It's got some great sequences in it, and even from the very opening when he's on the boat, you got the guys that are causing a bunch of trouble, and he just knows how to handle and be cool in every situation, and you kind of get that throughout. Man, he never gets rattled, even when death is right there in his face. Yeah, he's cool, and that's it really makes the character. And I'm not a big Tom Selleck fan, but it really works in this movie.
I wouldn't call myself the biggest Tom Selleck fan, but I always like him.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, he's in that new show now. I don't watch it, and I don't want to. But not because of Tom Selleck, just because it's kind of a family cop drama or something. I'm not interested in that.
Quigley on Top? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called 8 is Enough, Quigley's.
Hail Ming.
But yeah, man, there's some great stuff. And Crazy Cora is such a great character in this movie, and you end up just really liking her just because of just how insane she is. And she's called Crazy Cora for a reason. Yeah,
I mentioned her by the actress' name is Laura San Giacomo. She was in Pretty Woman. She plays the best friend of the main character in that, Julia Roberts' character. She's been in a number of things, but ultimately she does a great job playing just a character that's been driven insane, and she ends up kind of latching on to Quigley, and she's what helps him to keep his humanity through the whole thing. He could be one of those drifter, ride into town, Rambo kind of style characters, or man with no name kind of thing. But instead, they gave him this character that goes along with him that keeps him grounded and keeps him being that polite, cool in every situation character that Rick mentioned. And that's important.
Right.
It's what makes this a little different than your average Western.
And you kind of mentioned earlier, too, about him being a hired gun that answers to this reply, comes in to do the job. And what they really want him to do is kill off the Aborigine while he's there. A scene that I love, though, is when he sits down to eat with Alan Rickman, and they have that conversation. And you see Alan Rickman come flying out of the window or the door or whatever it is. Nobody knocks me out of my own house.
And he goes back in and he gets knocked out again, right?
Yeah. So he's just haymaking these people left and right, man.
Well, and again, it's good filmmaking too, because you don't see him knock Alan Rickman either time.
Right.
It's just the setup and the punchline. It'll literally the punchline.
Right.
And then he sends all of his thugs in there to go get him. And this is another one of those moments where it teaches a lesson. He's about to fortify and just kind of figure out. I guess he's cool as a cucumber this whole time too.
Right,
he's in this guy's house, and part of the reason this movie is so long is because they want to convey the vastness of the Outback. The Outback is this huge, untamable land, and part of the time-consuming nature of this movie is there's like a 10-minute stint where they're just riding on a wagon to get out to the guy's farm.
Right.
And it's because they want to show you just how deep in it he is when he locks horns with him. He's trapped out there in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Yeah, so they finally get him. They cheat and give him a beat down. They take him and Crazy Cora out in the middle of the desert to die. They find their way out. He's slick just like always. He's always got a plan. Don't want to ruin too much of it because you need to check it out. But it's some awesome stuff, man. And again, it just shows you how good of a shot he is. And from there, man, it's survival in the desert for a long time.
Well, one of the things I like about that too, and I noticed it when I rewatched, was Crazy Cora. She goes back and forth from being crazy, and whenever she is being crazy, she refers to Matthew Quigley, whose name is Matthew. And she refers to him as Roy.
Yeah, sorry, Roy.
And he's like, my name's not Roy. And sometimes, she'll say, "Hey, Roy, you want to do something?" And he'll say, "No, I don't." And then later he'll say, "Well, I kind of want to, you remember before when you asked me?" And she'll say, "No." And I'll say, "Well, what's my name?" And she'll say, "Matthew. You tell me all the time." she does a great job of bringing this crazy character to bear.
Yeah.
But she's not just crazy. Like her backstory comes out.
Right.
And, a la the last episode of MASH, it's one of those stories where, when she was afraid for her life and her child's life, she smothered her baby. And she plays it really well. And then the next morning she forgot she told him about the whole thing. He's still Roy again. Roy, the guy who left her after she, made this horrible mistake that haunts her every day.
Right.
And it's a great character development in the middle of this Western. They very well could have just had these sharpshooter sequences. They could have had this action movie, but they threw this real human element. And it does a good job of really giving you good characters to chew on.
Yeah. A reason that I've got wrote down to watch this movie, it's got some drug scenes like Altered States in it. Some Ken Russell looking stuff going on. So out, whether, just stranded out in the desert, they find the Aborigines take them in and kind of take care of them for a while. And they give them a little something. And it gets a little crazy.
Yeah, well, they were already about to die from being dehydrated, so they probably were pretty susceptible to whatever was given to them.
Right.
Who was it that we had on? Oh, it was Bo when we were talking about Starman. How just so many movies aren't optimistic anymore.
Right.
And I think Quigley Down Under falls into the category of, there are some unsavory characters, but there's a point in this part where they get taken in by the Aborigines.
Right.
And he says, why are they treating us so well? Every white person with a gun is trying to kill them.
Right.
And she says, well, not you. And he says, but they don't know that. So either the intimation is there that they know that he's not trying to kill them, or they're just willing to help anybody.
Right.
And, I think that's a real statement on, the optimism that these people who, even though they're being, hunted to extinction, they're still willing to help a traveler who's captured, who looks just like the people that are trying to kill them.
Right. And speaking of which, later on, there's, again, Alan Rickman's group of henchmen or whatever, or they've got all these Aborigines gathered together, and they're basically just running them off the side of a cliff, man.
Running them off a cliff. It's a hard scene to watch.
It really is, man. It's as horrific as anything. And, that's a tough one, man. And that just shows you just the barbaric actions of these people. They really want them gone, I guess, so they can claim the land. You're fighting over a desert, so whoop-de-doo,
I know, it's all historically accurate. Like I mentioned before, there were some people that slowed the release of this movie because they wanted the time period to be right. And it's probably because they wanted the history to be accurate, because it is one of those historical stories that, at least over here in America, you don't hear very often. I do know that the extermination of the Aborigines is something that the Australians came out about and started talking about in the 90s. And it's something that, nationality-wise, they're not exceptionally proud of.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, that really stood out to me, just that whole scene, because that's just barbaric, man. Just running them over that edge. And, of course, Quigley's doing his best. He starts trying to knock off the bad guys. So, they save a few of them, but there's a bunch of them that's down at the bottom of that cliff. And while they're down there, Crazy Cora saves a baby, which looks like a little CeeLo Green.
And that endears me. I like CeeLo Green. Of course, CeeLo Green does look like an adult baby.
Right.
He's got the little stumpy fingers and stuff.
Right.
And if you're listening, CeeLo, first of all, thanks for listening.
Yeah. We love you.
Secondly, I'm not saying anything bad. When you left The Voice, I quit watching. Of course, I probably would have quit watching anyway. I never
really watched it, but I remember when Gnarls Barkley performed on MTV Awards and you were dressed up as like Star Wars characters. That's awesome in my book.
So, bottom line, CeeLo Green, if you're listening, we love you. If you're not listening, start listening.
That's right. What's the holdup?
All right, so again, I'm just going to go back through this real quick. And, I know you're saying, what moral values on the Hail Ming Power Hour? Talking about extermination of people and genocide? That's not what we're talking about. As a matter of fact, what we're talking about is in the context of the movie, how bad are the bad guys?
Right.
The bad guys are bad. They're taking these altruistic native people in Australia, which, who knows, that history might not be accurate either. But they are running them off of cliffs, babies, women, families. They're herding them across the outback when they get a chance, and they're running them off of cliffs. because they want the land. And so who's going to stop all this, at least in this little section of the story that we call Quigley Down Under? Matthew Quigley.
That's right. Or Roy. Matters who you know, what side you're on, if you're on the crazy side.
Well, and the catharsis of that character, the fact that at the end of the movie, we'll have to spoil that, but we'll wait till the end of the story to give that, because it's a fantastic twist that as Matthew, I guess, falls in love with Cora through the whole movie, he makes a move at the very end that not only, affirms his love for her, but also it saves his life. So far, what we got sharpshooter sequences to some pretty bumping banjo music. We have the fact that Matthew Quigley is cool in every situation, including being driven out in the middle of nowhere to work for a guy and then deciding he's not going to work for the guy and then being hunted by the guy. He's still cool. Even when he wakes up from being unconscious, he's got a plan. So he escapes from the thugs. I cannot say how much, we didn't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to. But that sequence where he escapes from the thugs involved that have been taking him out in the middle of the desert to die.
Yeah.
It is a great sequence.
Fantastic.
Because it just shows, first of all, how on the ball Quigley is.
Yeah.
He knows exactly, Elliot Marston is the name of Alan Rickman's character, who sends his thugs out there to leave him out in the desert to die. Well, what happens when Quigley wakes up? He's got a plan to start escaping. Now, there's a little bit of Deus Ex Machina in that the guy who brings him out there also has Quigley's rifle.
Right.
But he manages to get that guy over to him, and then from there he manages to do some quick thinking and get them escape.
Right.
It's an awesome sequence.
It really is. And at this point, this is also where he's been beaten up profusely, so it's almost like he's near death already, but he still has a plan.
You can't hold him down. He does have that Western trope that he is the drifter who is never really out of sorts. He always knows exactly what he's going to do.
Right.
Which is a little different from all the heroes in Quick and the Dead, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, after that, I've got the Aborigines saved them for some altered states drug scenes.
Yeah, and eating some grubs. And then also
some grub worms.
Learn how to dance and do the whip and nay-nay. They kind of got that going on for a little bit.
Yeah. He learns some of the Aboriginal ways of getting water and surviving on the land. And
of course, Becky kept saying, I wonder which one has the Coke bottle.
Was that a Gods Must Be Crazy mention?
Yes.
Hail Ming.
You got it.
Those were the Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, though.
I don't know. It's just, we don't know.
Way to go, Becky. No. Seriously. It's a reference to Gods Must Be Crazy. That's awesome. Yeah, they learn how to, from the Aborigines, they teach them the way, and he teaches them how to braid some leather. Cora learns how to, weave some baskets or something. I don't know what she's learned over there.
Yeah. From
there, they wake up and the Aborigines are going away, and that's when he gets a chance to shoot some bad guys, because the bad guys have caught those Aborigines that saved their lives, and
right.
They're wrangling them up.
And he puts up a plan together to go into town and start knocking these guys off too. So he's not going to try to just run in and tackle everybody. He's just going to come in and just do his business.
Well, he's a plotter.
Right. Oh, another reason to watch this movie. It's kind of off the map here a little bit, but there's a scene where you get to see some barbecued iguana. And I've always wondered about that because I remember that song, Wall of Voodoo.
Yeah, Wall of Voodoo is.
Wish ahead, Tijuana, eat barbecued iguana. Well, you get to see it in this one, folks.
I thought that was Mexican radio, not Australian radio.
Yeah, well, Still, you get barbecued iguana. Doesn't matter where it's at.
Actually, I think the Australian version is barbecued goanna. Aren't they goannas?
Sure.
Hey, and here's another connection to the 80s. This may have come out in the 90s, but to the 80s, who eats grub worms? Crocodile Dundee. He gives that grub worm to that lady.
Right.
And he uses his giant knife to open that can of food because he doesn't eat grub worms for real.
I was going to say Puma and Timon, but sure. Crocodile Dundee.
Same thing.
Hail Ming.
Hey, another big one for me, too, man, is when the dingoes start coming around.
Yeah.
Man. That's frightening stuff, man.
Yeah, the dingoes, the wild dogs of the Australian outback, they come around and it gives Cora an opportunity to save the baby that she saved once already and to kind of redeem herself from her mistake in her youth. She's afraid, just like she was afraid, and instead of smothering the baby, they decide they're going to make as much noise as they can, and the noise they make, basically just weirds out the dingoes to the point where they take off. So
right.
Cora gets an opportunity to right her wrong.
Right. Or wrong. Right, wrong.
Right, wrong. No. And this is while Quigley has gone off to town, and unfortunately he gets found out, and he has a run in.
He jumps from roof to roof and falls through in that one roof.
There are those people in the motel room, and Andy Blockley doesn't know what they're doing because
the girl's in front of the guy or the girl's behind the guy and all that kind of weird stuff going on.
Yeah. I don't know, Andy.
They do it in Australia too, man.
In Australia, those people were all, criminals from the UK, right? So
Andy should know about that then.
So deja vu is back on
you.
Hail Ming.
Oh, and the message that he sends back, he sends the guy back on the horse to let Alan Rickman know, yep, I'm coming for you.
And in typical fashion, if you've ever read any of the Jack Reacher novels or if you've ever watched one of these movies, like, hey, let's say Die Hard, maybe.
Right.
Every time Alan Rickman,
right, sends
out goons, they don't come back. Or one of them comes back saying, he was everywhere. I don't know how to get it. Well, he was everywhere. I don't know where he was. And
he gave her a cut from ear to ear.
He gave her a cut from ear to ear. We are rapidly going to lose the people who listen to us from other countries. I'm sorry.
Well, because they don't sound anything like we sound.
All of these impressions we do, they are generalizations of other accents, and I won't say what accents they're supposed to be.
But anyways, man, getting back to this movie, there's a lot of great action going on in this movie, man. And you even got some of the henchmen. You get down to where he's narrowed the scope down, right? So he's got down to Alan Rickman and a couple of henchmen. So Alan Rickman's standing there, and he's got like David Coverdale standing on one side, and then the lead singer Simply Red on the other side. And it's about to go down.
It's about to go down. Well, and much like, I'm not a huge Western fan either, but one of my other favorites, it's hard not to have this as a favorite. We might get into a Braveheart style conversation about whether or not it's lovable for everyone, but is Silverado.
Oh yeah, Silverado's great.
You can't fight Silverado. Danny Glover. You got Kevin Costner. You got Kevin Kline. The list goes on and on. And that's a who's who.
Right.
Yeah. You got everybody in that movie. Even to the point where bit parts like the gambler is Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
But that's a different movie, and we'll probably cover that at some point.
That's a good one. That's, again, like I said, there's a handful of them I like. A fistful of Westerns. And
a fistful of Westerns.
And that's one of them I like as well. But it gets pretty narrow from that point.
But what you have to have is that showdown.
Right.
And, out in the middle of nowhere, there's a farmhouse where the bad guy lives, and that's where the showdown's going to happen.
Yeah.
So another reason to watch the movie, the showdown.
Alan Rickman thinks he has him at a disadvantage at this point because they take his rifle away. They give him just a regular 6-shooter. So they're going to make it a drawing contest because he thinks that Quigley doesn't know anything about using just a regular pistol because he tells him early on in the movie that he's just not fond of them.
Well, I think what he says is, I've never had any use for.
Right. I've never had any use for a pistol. Right. Again, been beaten pretty bad. They've taken his gun away, and they stand him up and make him, forced to draw. And he just blows them all away. And, of course, you get the famous bad guy ending where, you said you were no good with the 6-shooter. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and he says, well, I said I never had a use for one. Didn't say it wasn't any good.
Right.
So, and not only that, but I think it was stacked against him. He had like 3 people he was drawn against simultaneously, and he kills them all.
Yeah.
Matthew Quigley.
Bad dude, man.
Bad dude.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, I really enjoyed this one. And like I said, that's come from somebody that does not watch a lot of Westerns, but this one has enough entertaining stuff, and the story is just different enough that it keeps it very entertaining. Good performances. Alan Rickman's the bad guy. What more can you say?
Right. And, if you want to watch this movie and fast forward, it's totally okay. What we've done is we've told you what happens in the slow parts, on the Outback. There really are long sequences where you're being put through the motions just to show just how treacherous the Outback is. And you can ignore all those parts. You know what they're there for.
Right.
Now, as promised before, there's a spoiler that I'm going to give you here. At the end, of course, Crazy Cora's been calling him Roy, which was her husband's name, her husband who left her after she had after she smothered their baby. And at the end, he's getting out of town. And the word is out that Matthew Quigley's a wanted man. And the guy behind the counter says, "Now, what was your name?" He looks over at Cora and he says, "My name's Roy."
And even that whole time, the guy at the counter is reaching under the counter there for a gun because he thinks he's identified him. There's a wanted poster right there beside him.
Because in Australia, when you're wanted, it means they have a gun and they're going to shoot you.
Right.
Hey, well, that's what it meant in the 18-something. They don't have guns now. We won't get into that. But yeah, so the fact that he finally, he accepted Cora and she accepted him, because after that, doesn't she say, you watched it to the...
Get out, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, get out! Get out!
Get out! I've lost my earplugs.
I'm on Mars.
Hail Ming.
Thanks, everybody, for sticking with us. I appreciate it. Bottom line, because he accepts the moniker of Roy, it saves his life. So Cora is able to repay any debts. Not that she didn't hold her own.
Right.
One of the things I was going to say, and I think I got sidetracked, was that early on they're in the Outback, and Cora actually takes some of the stuff he's carrying to carry. Of course, later he has to carry her, but she's not the character from Temple of Doom,
No.
who's putting on perfume and my hair. She's a rough and tumble girl.
Yeah,
who's also crazy, which is awesome.
Yeah, she's she can handle her own, that's for sure. And being crazy has helped her do that for so long. So
right, and she's cute too.
Yeah,
she's cute.
Yep. All right, cool. Let's give it a rating. I give it 8 CeeLo Green babies.
8 CeeLo Green babies. Maybe the dingo ate your baby. I'm gonna give it 22 grub worms on a plate.
Ew. All right.
Now, in case that's ambiguous, that means I liked it because I like eating grub worms.
Well, Chewbacca, what do you think? Okay. Yeah. All right.
Damn it, Chewbacca.
All right, we'll be right back.
From the brilliant minds at Ming's Eye Theater, who brought you Spring Heeled Jack 2, comes a sequel long awaited. Quigley in the Yukon. When Matthew Quigley finds himself in the bitter cold of the Yukon, he's forced to once again make a stand. I need you to kill all these Inuits. So cold. So you won't do it? In the harsh cold of the Yukon, see Matthew Quigley once again pick up his trusty rifle to make right what's wrong and to administer justice to those on the wrong side of what's right. Oh, Frozen. Come on. Quigley in the Yukon. Coming to a theater near you.
He survived the Outback, and now he's coming to America to right a wrong from long ago. Dingo Pictures presents The Adventures of Baby CeeLo Green. Come enjoy the fun with Baby CeeLo and his new caretaker, Uncle Snuff.
The dad blaming Baby CeeLo. You can't just go around and be a killing everybody. Now you just put down that knife.
You'll be wondering who's taking care of who.
The dad blaming CeeLo. You get down off that wagon, you're going to catch a cold. And stop hitting that girl in the head with a hammer.
It's wild.
Baby CeeLo, you get off that end then.
It's fun.
Dad blaming CeeLo, get off that train. Oh, great goobly-goo.
It's an adventure that pleases everyone.
No, Baby CeeLo, not the rocket launcher.
Don't miss The Adventures of Baby CeeLo Green, coming this August. Howdy, folks. Ready for the second movie? Sure you are.
Yeah, you are. As we mentioned before, this movie it's a Sam Raimi film, which anybody who's been listening knows that I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan.
Yeah, we hate Sam Raimi.
Yeah, he sucks. Sam Raimi, if you're listening, tell CeeLo Green we love him.
Hail Ming.
That's funny.
I said CeeLo Green, like
CeeLo Green.
CeeLo Green. We chopped all the grain down. CeeLo Green?
CeeLo Green on the ground.
What?
All right. back before we get sued. We're talking about the incredible Sam Raimi, Quick and the Dead.
Quick and the Dead.
This movie is so awesome. And I know we've watched it probably 10 times together back in the day. And it never gets old. I go back and revisit it, and it still just blows me away. The pacing of it is so fast. You got Sam Raimi at the helm. You got Gene Hackman. You got a star-studded cast, man. And we'll get into all that. But, man, what a movie.
I saw this movie in the theater. And, it came out at the same time as Dumb and Dumber. And the people I was with were like, we're going to go see Dumb and Dumber. And I'm like, well, you can do that. I'm going to go see Quick and the Dead because it was Sam Raimi and it was a Western. And I'm, like we said, we're not huge fans of Westerns, but it's also a tournament movie, which I think we mentioned it with a previous guest. A tournament movie is its own plot. And I think when it's done right, there's really no better. And this movie was definitely done right.
Mortal Kombat.
You need to pick that mic back up. Mortal Kombat! Anybody?
Street Fighter.
I'm losing you, man.
All right, but Rumble in the Bronx.
Not a tournament movie.
Muppets Take Manhattan.
Oh, I like the part that Jason Voorhees was in. Is that the same movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the best part. Anyways, let's get back to this one. To give us a synopsis, we've got, this is a special one here. This is Janine from Ghostbusters.
The Quick and the Dead is a 1995 action western by director Sam Raimi. Ellen, an unknown female gunslinger, rides into a small, dingy, and depressing prairie town with a secret as to her reason for showing up. Shortly after her arrival, a local preacher, Court, is thrown through the saloon doors while townfolk are signing up for a gun competition. The pot is a huge sum of money, and the only rule that you follow the rules of the man that set up the contest, Herod. Herod is also the owner, leader, and ruler of the town. Seems he's arranged this little gun show-off so that the preacher, who used to be an outlaw and rode with Herod, will have to fight again. Court refuses to ever use a gun to kill again, and Herod, acknowledging Court as one of the best, is determined to alter his line of thinking, even if it gets someone killed. Here's a quote from the kid, played by a young Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm so damn fast I can wake up at the crack of dawn, rob 2 banks, a train, and a stagecoach, shoot the tail feathers off a duck's ass at 300 feet, still be back in bed before you wake up next to me. Sounds like a good one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, she has every bit as much enthusiasm as she does the a receptionist at the Ghostbusters headquarters there.
Of course they're serious.
You do?
We've got one!
For all of you out there, Janine will do requests if you send scripts or commercials. Yeah, she's busy enough, but she can take more work.
Yeah, well, she's been out of the voice work for a while, so.
Good job, Janine.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you have it, man. Quick and dead.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Okay, I think we did break into the 90s 100% because this is a 1995 movie.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, the reason to watch this movie is this movie.
Right.
There isn't a dull moment. There are a ton of awesome, incredible characters, and the actors that are in it are all people you like. You like Gene Hackman?
Yes.
You like Russell Crowe? You like Lance Henriksen?
Yes.
You like Keith David?
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Sharon Stone.
You got Sharon Stone? I mean, you like Tobin Bell? Not me either. Anyway, they're all in this movie, and they all have these little bit parts to play. I'm sure that they were all like, I want to play that character when they looked at the whole list, because every one of them is this cliched Western trope. You have the general from the Civil War who's come in and become a gun for hire. You've got the daredevil trick shooter, Ace Hanlon. Put an ace up there. They'll know what that means.
They'll know what that means.
I mean, and every one of them has their part to play to make this just a great tournament movie. It's you establish all the characters and then you eliminate them one by one. One of Rick and I's favorite characters is a guy that steps up when they start to create the tournament and they start asking for volunteers. The first guy that sets up is, Gusman, I am Swedish fast dog champion.
Swedish champion.
And they all laugh, and he's great. They put his name on there, and he gets eliminated, but he plays a part in the tournament. It's one of those things. You establish all these interesting characters. You let the characters interact, and then you let the tournament play out until the last one. It's a plot that's ready to be driven. I'm going to say right now, like, the reason to watch the movie, my first reason, is the movie.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the character that Sharon Stone plays, man, she's all business, man. She's there for one purpose. There just happens to be a tournament going on. And that all just really plays out fantastic. And, man, come on. The reason to watch this movie, Sam Raimi. I mean, the way that this is all put together, the way it looks, the angles, the shots in the street, the zoom ins that he does. This is him doing his best type work in a Western. And it's just so entertaining. So many great characters. You like Bruce Campbell? That's great, because his name's on the list, but you don't really see him. So
I think that I read that he was in as a wedding shemp.
Yeah, wedding shemp.
If you know Sam Raimi, he loves to add shemps, because shemp was one of the Three Stooges, and that's kind of the word he puts in there for a filler character. But I think he was cut out, is what I read. I don't recall seeing him. He was supposed to be in one of the wedding scenes, like a Mexican wedding. A lot of people in costumes and face paint. So if he was there, I didn't recognize him.
Right. Oh,
there is a scene in one of the taverns where there's a little guy dressed up, like a little dwarf dressed up as a devil with red skin.
Right. Yeah, there has.
And we were like, "What's up with that guy?"
Yeah, there's some. Ooh, wee! What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Oh, hey, next reason to watch this movie? Virgil Sparks, the Pride of Texas.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to, but I never got there because there's so much to talk about. When they start to take names, this guy stands up. Put my name on there, Virgil Sparks, the Pride of Texas. And I think the next time you see him, his name is Sparks, and he's getting X'd off the board. Because, there are several montages. And that would be the second reason to watch, or the third reason after Virgil Sparks to watch this movie. There's a gun preparation montage.
Oh,
There's a tournament montage.
Oh, yeah.
There's a time passing montage. There are all these montages where like scenes or images are superimposed over other images and people's faces are shown. And it just tells the story without words.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's just great. But yeah, what kills me about that too, and that shows you the impact of the movie. But I remember Danny at work when people would come up and be not from the company we worked for and introduce themselves, wanting some information on something. He'd say, "Virgil Sparks, the Pride of Texas," and he would tell these people that, and they never thought any differently. He was Virgil Sparks.
Yeah, we did a lot of lying back in those days.
We just didn't have Brian Blessed back then to let everybody know.
Yeah, that's where we cut our teeth with the whole lying game.
Hey, another reason to watch this. DiCaprio's the perfect punk, man. He's the perfect hotshot kid.
I was just realizing that of all the people I named, recent Oscar Award winner Leonardo DiCaprio was not in that list.
Yeah.
Because he plays the kid. He's very young in this. And another one of the gunslingers. They all have a shtick. And his is that he's the kid. He's young and he's cocky. And he does a great job of just playing this character to the hilt.
Yeah. And to just tell you the pacing of this thing too, man. Within 16 minutes of the opening of the movie, you've already met every character. That's how fast this thing moves, man. So 16 minutes in, you know the entire cast, everybody that's in it, and you've already seen a lot of action at this point. And it just doesn't stop.
Well, it starts off with like a musket cam, Tobin Bell shooting Sharon Stone coming in, and then, she ruses him out and she knocks him out and chains him to a wagon wheel, which later when he comes into town, he's still shackled to the wagon wheel. But
awesome.
Then, say you're a Western fan and you're like, this doesn't sound like a Western to me. It sounds like a bunch of crap. Well, listen, when she walks into town, what's the first thing she runs into? Rick, you got it?
No.
The coffin maker.
Oh, that's all right.
The guy's carving a coffin
Yeah.
and he says, about 5'8". Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, how much of a trope in Westerns is that?
Right. The only thing it'd been better if she was like pulling a casket behind her while she was coming into town,
Right. I was going to say the next character I remember being introduced, I mean, there are several that are introduced rapid fire, is Scars. Because he rides into town out of nowhere, and then he goes into the saloon. A guy gets kicked out of the saloon.
Yeah.
He lets that guy run off, a la Matthew Quigley style.
Right.
And then
get almost out of town.
Yeah, and then he shoots him off his horse and just takes a big old swig of beer.
Yep, just goes right back to being nasty.
And tells Sharon Stone, he says, "You're pretty." And of course, he looks like a badger that's lost a fight.
I think he's even missing an eye or something. He's
got a milky eye. He's got scar. His name is Scars. When he shoots the guy, he cuts his arm,
right.
To indicate another kill. And then he says, "You're pretty," and Ellen says, "You're not." He says, "I need a woman." She says, "You need a bath." Yep.
It's got some great. It's just set up so well, man. But even when he comes in on the horse, he's riding in just like 90-0. He gets off, and somebody goes, "Hey, Scar," and he goes, "Shut up."
Yeah. And just another thing here that you might be saying, well, this again, this doesn't sound like a movie. Look, why is it not a movie you want to see? I mean, all the characters in it are super entertaining. It's kind of vapid, I guess. There's not really a moral to it,
right?
Other than the bad guy gets it in the end,
right?
And
what can you say about that, man? I mean, Gene Hackman is the bad guy.
Hackman,
such a bad dude in this movie, man. You forget how awesome Gene Hackman is.
I mean, and you never hear about this movie.
Right.
You know, like, I don't know what took its thunder, but I'm telling anybody out there who hasn't watched this movie, trust me, just go watch it.
Buy it right now. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, again, what else do you need? Gene Hackman, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sharon Stone, Pee Wee Herman. No, I'm kidding.
Pee Wee Herman.
You know, because he didn't get that award from that dragon, you know.
Right. He plays the suit. You know, like he comes in wearing a little gray suit with a red tie, and he's like, I guess I'm gonna shoot you now.
I have it in my notes. Lance freaking Hendrickson, man. I mean,
yeah, man. He plays
awesome.
he plays this scummy trick shooter who's going from town to town, and he's saying, oh, you know, this is, you know, the next town I go to, and I killed these people here, and he's just all. I think when he's introduced, he tells Sharon Stone, he said, every time I kill someone, I put an ace in my deck. And then he fans out his deck, and it's all aces. You know, It's just he's all pomp.
It's all showmanship.
And, you know, he does this trick shot and shoots this card that this girl's holding. And Gene Hackman comes by and says, I heard you shot a girl's finger off doing that.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, every time Gene Hackman comes in, he's the real deal.
Right.
So Lance Henriksen bristles at him and, you know, kind of starts to fade away. But he can't fade too much because everybody believes him. We're
kind of jumping around, but, man, there's so many great scenes in this. I think of Sharon Stone when Russell Crowe plays a preacher in this that used to be a bad guy, used to be one of Gene Hackman's henchmen. And they've got him strung up. And basically, they're shooting the legs off the bottom of the chair that he's standing in, and about to kill him. And Sharon Stone saves him. And there's all these backstories of things of how it all ties together.
Yep,
it's just a great movie.
Yeah, and when she saves Russell Crowe, she's also saving Gary Sinise.
Right.
Right. So her backstory is that she came in to right a wrong.
Right.
And she's been in that situation before, and she did it this time.
Right. Why should you watch Quick and the Dead? Because Spotted Horse cannot be killed by a bullet.
Spotted Horse cannot be killed by a bullet. A bullet went in here just this morning and has not come out yet.
I got shot while eating pancakes.
These characters, this rogues gallery of characters involved in this quick dog competition. One of them is Spotted Horse, who's this Native American, tears off his shirt, shows how many times he's been shot, and his whole thing is Spotted Horse cannot be killed by a bullet.
Right.
And when it comes time for him to duel, it takes more. He's right.
He's proven
he cannot be killed by one bullet.
So yeah, it's just great, man. Because you've got series and series of gunfights out in the street. You've got this one guy that's a henchman that is kind of messing around with an underage girl. And Sharon Stone keeps seeing him messing around with this girl. And the hatred between those two just keep growing and growing. He's just a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And they finally have a duel out in the rain, which is amazing. It's such a highlight of the movie. That whole scene is just incredible.
I agree. And Rick, you are a Brian De Palma fan. I would say that the way that Sam Raimi, and he's done this before, the way he does focus in the foreground and the background simultaneously, it's a lot like the split screen that Brian De Palma does, where he likes to get action going on in two different places.
Right.
And he does it a lot in this movie.
Right. I mean, again, just if you have any visual idea of what Sam Raimi is when you hear his name, this movie is just... It's all over it, and it's textbook Sam Raimi just done in a Western with an exciting story, great, shootouts in the street. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk. Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. That's what we're here to do. The first duel between the preacher and somebody is a guy named Foy. And that guy sends his kids over to beat him up first.
Our daddy's going to kill you, preacher.
Our kids don't go to church much. And then, the guy thinks it's a shoo-in because the preacher said he's not going to use a gun.
Right.
But he's just so ingrained that he ends up shooting anyway. You said you weren't going to shoot. But that guy. I mean, and there's your first introduction to the preacher as a gunfighter.
Right.
And it's Russell Crowe. He does a great job at it. Every one of these duels is fantastic.
Right.
The one that gets me is when Herod,
right? Yeah.
Gene Hackman, when he's talking, there's just a conversation between him and Ace Hanlon and Lance Henriksen.
Oh yeah.
And they're talking, and he's saying, I heard you killed these brothers, and he's, yeah, I did. The truth is, I gunned one of them down with my left hand. I'm just as good with both.
Right.
And they're talking, and then all of a sudden, turns out they're on either end of the road, and they're in the middle of their duel, just talking. The clock strikes. Hanlon, beats him dead to right, shoots his right hand. He says, "Well, what about your left?" He goes to shoot. He shoots him in the left hand with his left hand. He says, "The truth is, I'm just as good with both of my hands." I mean, like, Hanlon is proven to be the I guess the fake that he is.
Right. I mean, he's been taking this story and bragging about it, but it was Gene Hackman's character Herod that had done all this.
Right. And that's why he's been giving him the stink eye every time they're in the same room too, because he knows he's just a big phony.
Right. He's Herod set this whole thing up. He's got everybody coming in that that either disgust him, that he has some beef with, but it really comes down to he wanted to go against Russell Crowe, who is supposedly the fastest draw that there is.
Right.
And that's the whole game point, was to get him involved.
And he couldn't just go challenge him because, being a preacher, he's renounced violence. So he said he won't do it anymore.
Right. So he had his guys go out and find him, beat him up, drag him behind the horse into town, tie him to the fountain in the middle of town, and keep him there till it's his turn to fight. And it's just crazy, man. And we haven't even talked about pretty much our favorite actor, Keith David.
Keith David. I was going to bring him up. The town doesn't like Herod being there. So they've hired a gun to take him out. And they hired the general.
Yeah.
Sergeant Cantrell. And when they go to put his name up on the big chalkboard, which is one of my reasons to watch the movie, the chalkboard.
Yeah.
He says, "How do you spell that?" Keith David says, "Correctly." It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's great.
And the way he shoots from the hip, and his gun's just on a swivel on his belt.
Yeah, it's probably not the best of tactics, but for some reason,
it's probably fast.
Yeah, I guess. But there's a turning point in this movie too, and it's actually his duel with Herod. And from that point on, every gunfight is to the death. It starts off, it's like, you can wound somebody, but now it's gotten to where you shoot till somebody's dead.
Right.
So, it gets, Gene Hackman just gets more evil as this thing goes on. And I can't say it enough. What a bad guy. I mean, he's perfect for this role.
Let's talk for just a minute about that dynamic as far as the plot goes. Because at first, if you like a character, you can say, well, they'll probably just wing them and then they'll be able to walk away alive. Well, after this point, Gene Hackman has made it to, say you like the kid's still in the contest.
Yeah.
It's to the death. Anybody you like that's still in the contest could die now.
Right.
It ratchets up the tension, and it's just a great dynamic.
It's just fantastic, man. I again, this is probably my favorite Western, period. And not only that, but this is a movie that I enjoy just watching anytime. It's just action-packed. Love it.
Hey, and I'm going to give credit. The writer's name is Simon Moore. I saw it when I was reading it. I'm not familiar with his work, but again, he did a great job of writing just an ensemble cast, in this tournament movie. And it's nonstop. There's not a moment where, you can really get bored with what's going on.
Right.
It segues right into the next. There are more characters than we can really talk about.
Right. Even, to the point of the little blind kid that's in town, the bartender. I mean, there's all these characters. There's nobody that's not there without a purpose. And it's just good filmmaking.
Yeah, I agree. It takes the plot and it doesn't ruin it.
Right.
It doesn't add information you don't need.
And just good casting. I mean, putting the right people in the right place. You can't even imagine any of these people being a different character. Lance Henriksen is Ace. I mean, that's just one of his iconic characters to me. When you say his name, that's one of the images I come up with. So just perfect casting.
I agree. And I'm just going to take a minute to say, why doesn't this movie get more billing?
Well, it came out at a time when Westerns wasn't popular, and I don't know. I think it got overshadowed. Like you said, it came out the same time Dumb and Dumber came out. I don't think it got the press that it deserved. You saw it in the theater. I discovered it later because you had seen it first and you bought a copy of it and brought it over. And I was just blown away. And I don't think enough people have checked this movie out. So, again, that's why it's on the show here. And this is one that we've been talking about since we started the show of we've got to tell people about this movie. They need to check it out.
And, if you're familiar with it, congratulations. You're one of the few.
Right.
If you're not, trust us on this.
Yeah.
If you like the movies that we've come up with so far, then give this one a chance. And, even if you just want to watch the trailer to make sure or something, go check it out.
Yep.
Because it'll be worth your time. It's a lot of fun, and it's really well done.
Right. And it goes by fast. You're not going to have to fast forward because it moves so quick, and you're going to miss something if you do fast forward. So, yeah, man, it's great. Again, this is on our list of movies to cover the whole time, and we just now got around to finding something to match it up with. So, it's just a favorite of ours. Go buy a copy of it on Amazon right now.
Yeah. I mean, and while you're there, make a comment asking Sam Raimi to make more Westerns.
Right.
Or something, because you'll be doing us all a favor. We'll do it too. I'll go on there and comment. No, I probably won't.
Tell you, does Sam Raimi work for Amazon? Could you please pass him this message?
Sam Raimi.
What if Sam Raimi and CeeLo Green made a movie together? How about that?
Yeah. Well, since Crazy Cora saved CeeLo Green, they get the opportunity.
Right. So there you go, folks. That's how history is made.
That's how we make it.
That's all right. I guess we're ready for a rating. I am going to give it 10 Sharon Stones sleeping semi-naked on top of some dynamite kegs.
Ooh. The only thing that didn't happen in the movie that you just said were the fact that there was only one Sharon Stone. I'm going to give it 10 bullets that cannot kill Spotted Horse.
That was actually what I thought first, but I figured he might go there, so I picked a different one.
Oh, you're so nice.
I just think about that scene where she's waking up and she's been sleeping with DiCaprio, and she's all like, "Yeah," and there's like, "Yeah, man, you're sleeping on top of these powder kegs. Oh, great idea."
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio is great in that too.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of him either, but he's just perfect in this role.
The thing about, and then I wanted to say this, is if you're watching this and you're kind of weirded out by Sharon Stone's performance, I've always kind of thought it was weird too, but I got to thinking about it while I was watching this last time. She simultaneously has to be so driven by rage that she's here to kill people, but also she's intimidated by Herod, by Gene Hackman's character. Ever since childhood, she's been intimidated by him.
Yeah.
And so she's got to simultaneously play this badass and also this little girl that's still scared of this guy. She's trying to face her fears.
Right.
And that, she does it really well. Now that I've kind of had that context in place, I can appreciate her job a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, there's a total reason of why she's like she is. She's trying to front and have this attitude because she's anger driven, like you said. But inside, she's just as scared as anybody would be. And it's again, it just adds to the character development so much. So I love this movie. And you know who else does? Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe, what do you think about this movie?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Well, he sounded a little mad. I think he doesn't like the fact that you guys haven't gone out and bought it yet. So
that's right. Go out and buy it right now.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I just can't believe that Spotted Horse wins the whole thing at the end. I mean, that was a twist that I didn't expect.
Well, he can't be killed by a bullet. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's true. It's like he's a robot. He's a Native American gunfight winning robot.
Hey, that's the sequel for sure. It's kind of like what they did with King Kong Lives. They take him and do a surgery on him, give him some bionics, let him rip.
So 2 things about this that I got to mention in finality. There's a parallel scene at the beginning and end where Sharon Stone's hat gets shot and the sun is coming through the bullet hole.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the bad guy gets shot and there's a shadow cast and you see the sun coming through the bulult hole right through.
Right. Sam Raimi magic, man. I love the scene when she throws the badge and it sticks in the ground. That angle is you're just like, man, it's so Sam Raimi. It's killer.
Yeah, it's like I was watching John Singleton's Shaft.
Was it an X-rated movie?
Do we have John Singleton's Shaft? Do we have crickets or something for that one? I went and saw that just like I saw Quick and the Dead, and I was unfortunately not as pleased. But there you go. Some movies don't do it. That's my brain just made that noise.
Shaft. All right, we'll be right back.
Are you broke? Looking for a change of careers? Or just looking for some good old-fashioned fun? If so, then do I have the deal for you. Time Life Books presents another way to get your money. It's the Quick and the Dead Scavenger School. That's right, Scavenger School. You be quick when they be dead. We'll show you the ins and outs of quick attacking. Never let a body turn cold. When a body drops, be the first to drop in and take what's left. In our 6-week course, you'll learn how to strip a man down to his union suit in under 10 seconds. Learn how to remove gold teeth without hardly any tools at all. What's the fastest way to get a man out of his boots? Sign up today and find out. A wise man once said, "You'll never know a man till you walk a mile in his shoes." So take the man's shoes and get to stepping. Call 1-800-ASK-HEROD today. That's 1-800-275-4376.
The Wild West. It can be brutal. Savages, the heat, the dust. And people face these dangers to come here for one thing: cupcakes. Hi, folks. This is Virgil Sparks, the pride of Texas. And even though our city is known for the quick draw competitions, it's also known for the Quick and the Bread Bakery Saloon. We can supply all your baking needs for weddings, birthdays, holidays, and our big seller now, funeral funnel cakes. So if you can't stand the heat in the street, come inside for a cupcake treat. That's the Quick and the Bread Bakery Saloon. Panera can suck it.
The Quick and the Bread Bakery Saloon is a proud subsidiary of Dunkin' McCupcakes.
Well, hey, are you new in town? About 5'8"? Never you mind. It ain't too soon to plan for the great beyond. Here at Coffins, we really nailed down prices. We have better than cadaverage wares. So, you can get morgue than you asked for. Finances dead on arrival? Look into our post-mortem gold teeth and fancy threads plan. By the way, I like your shoes. About my size. Coffins. Round here, we earn our keep. No bones about it.
So there you have it, episode 13. And, we're still having a good time. I know Danny's kind of to the tilt right now. To the tilt. I don't even know what I'm saying. To the tilt. He's to the tilt. He's got a
Put
lot
an ace up there. They'll know what that means.
Virgil Sparks, the pride of Texas. he's got a full plate right now, so we're just trying to make things happen. But again, it's always fun to get together with him and go through these movies that we just enjoy talking about. And we talk about them just as much when we're not recording as when we do. So just glad for you guys to keep tuning in. We're just still loving it. Still having a good time. Ain't you, Danny? Yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. We were talking about some of the requests we've gotten and that we still haven't filled. So we're going to have to start doing that. And, it's not that we don't want to. It's that we wanted to make sure that some of these movies that have been, kicking around in our brains get this outlet. Yeah. Because we've wanted to do it for so long. Well, so, keep it coming. Keep being engaged. An episode featuring one of your requests is coming up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing about this is, believe it or not, we've actually planned out a schedule for so far out, and we're finally getting to the point where we can start adding some new stuff in there. So that's kind of where we're at. So even from like episode 1, you guys were requesting stuff. Those will start popping up here pretty soon. So be on the lookout for those. Keep giving us information and ideas on our Facebook page and everything, man. Just keep doing that. Again, keep checking out Legion Podcast. Keep everything going. And just peace and love, everybody.
Peace and love. And if you don't like any of the changes we've made to our recent episodes, then just remember, if we don't change things, then you're going to get the same. And the same is boring. That's it for us. So keep on rocking in the free world.
Keep on rocking in the free world. All right. That's the best Michael McDonald song I can think of. We'll see you guys later. Au revoir.
Au revoir. We're asking Chewbacca what he thinks now. And, then you get introduced to a few characters, but the next one I can recall is Scars, right?
I don't know what just happened right there.
But Scars?
No, I was getting some kind of message over here on my end.
Like Duckface. Yeah, Duckface was going to be killed in the first round, but he got cut from the movie. Yeah, I really thought...
Make your own show.
I know you asked for it the first week we started this thing, but shut up. And if people say, what happened to Brian Blessed? We say, shut up.
I have been ready since first take.
We'll do it live.
We've got a couple good movies for you, boy. First one's called Midnight Ripper. It's about a space cowboy. He flies into space with a bullwhip, and he fights a dragon to save the Crystal Palace. It stars Sally Field and Russell Crowe and the great Gary Coleman. It is directed by the incredible mind of Ron Jeremy. So be on the lookout for that one, boy. The next one is one of my personal favorites. It's called Washing Machine. About a little retarded boy who learns how to run real fast. It also stars Sally Field and Damon Wayans and Steve Guttenberg. It is also directed by first-time director Shaka Khan.